CA football fans, so good to see you. Bobby Broyles along with Tim McDonald here for This Week in CA Football presented by GEICO. Let's get right to it. A CA football team is once again just one victory away from a trip to Frisco, which I know that makes you a little giddy, doesn't it, Tim?
Just happy inside all week long.
At Illinois State last Friday night, Richmond simply got it done in a lot of ways.
We watched the start to that game on Friday. You were watching the contest. Richmond, the game plan and the attitude of Richmond, it was just let's come out of the gates firing, and the Spiders did just that. Not only to win on the road in the playoffs, but to win at the number 2 seed and against the Valley team that entered that game having won 19 straight home games. Another impressive road game for Richmond, another impressive road win. You look at that win at JMU earlier in the season was a little bit of a turning point. This team continues to grow and strengthen, as corny as it sounds. The Spiders are getting better each game this season. Talk about confidence. Gonna need to go on the road again this week to a Valley team, but you look at Kyle Aletta last week versus Illinois State secondary. He just absolutely dialed up, 18 of 30. 369 yards passing, had an interception, but also threw a touchdown. Jacoby Green, he was just, keep feeding the monster. I mean,
yes.
Feed the beast.
Yes.
Just give him the ball. 3 touchdowns rushing, 140-plus yards. Also had a 35-yard screen pass for a touchdown. Richmond's run offense ultimately won them the game because they were able to hold on to the ball. But Kyle Aletta in the receiving core, we talk about Brian Brown and Reggie Diggs, an absolutely monster contest for them. We knew that was going to be a factor. We knew those 2 wide receivers have All-American capabilities, and they proved it versus Illinois State. But the Richmond defense, I mean, talk about a unit that probably gets the game ball. Holding Marshawn Coppridge and Trey Roberson, the quarterback and running back for Illinois State, to 66 yards and 2.75 yards per carry. That's just enormous in the playoffs. That defensive line, I mean, a lot of no-name guys, but a heck of an effort. To go on the road and win like that just keeps the season going, and that's what the playoffs are all about. Richmond has another chance this week.
Well, the Spiders advanced in impressive fashion, and now comes a matchup with a program that has reigned over FCS football in recent years. 4 to be exact, Tim. The Bison of North Dakota State. I said that right, Bison,
you did
right?
say it right.
Okay, good. Richmond's trip to the Fargo Dome will be in prime time on Friday night at 8 o'clock Eastern in front of a national audience on ESPN2. Tim, opening with the offensive side of the football right now, what will be some of the keys for the Spiders to have success versus this Bison defense?
Switching it up this week, I like
Going
it.
into the offense. We're going to go to the offense.
This is Richmond's first semifinal appearance since 2008. You talk about the confidence of playing on not only tough road games, but the confidence of playing at a tough environment like they did at Illinois State last season. Let's remember, this team has played at Maryland, at New Hampshire, at Villanova, played very well on the road, especially as of late. You look at that win over Illinois State, 9 players had at least 1 catch. The Spiders racked up 562 yards of offense. At the half, it was a 344 to 89 yards of offense advantage and a 19-7 lead. The opening gate, too, you talk about a fast start for Richmond. The Spiders have now scored on the opening possession 8 of the last 10 games. That's going to be huge. Obviously, that's a big part of the game, but that's going to be huge at the Fargo Dome, in a place that has become home, a place that's become very, very hard for opponents to win.
Yes.
It's just North Dakota State plays so well there. We talked about Brown and Diggs last week combined for 10 catches and 221 yards. We saw them just eating up that secondary, and that's going to be another huge part. North Dakota State, their defense, we know how good they are. We know how tough they are. You need to remain balanced if you want to have any shot at this game. 31 pass attempts last week, 35 rush attempts for Richmond. North Dakota State's defense, as good as this North Dakota State team is, they're so good on defense because they have the ability to play one-on-one outside. You look at C.J. Smith, one of the best cornerbacks in the nation. He's probably going to be lined up on Brian Brown. That's going to be an awesome matchup to watch. Richmond's going to have its chance for one-on-one opportunities, but North Dakota State makes you earn every yard. Linebacker core for North Dakota State, Nick DeLuca, 16 tackles last week. He's an All-American. Pierre G. Tucker had 11 tackles last week. And I talked about Smith. This is a North Dakota State defense that doesn't give up a lot of yards. 106 rushing, 175 passing per game. Points are going to be a premium. Yards are going to be a premium. If Richmond's offense wants to have any success, you need to have manageable third downs. Kyle Aletta is going to need to make throws, but on the other hand, Richmond and Jacoby Green, that rushing attack, you're going to need to have 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s. You're going to have manageable drives. You cannot afford to have that many 3 and outs. It's going to be a really interesting matchup because Danny Rocco, when he has time to prepare and sit down, proved it last week. This coaching staff and these players have a plan, and if they execute, they have a chance.
And that Richmond offensive line, look out for them. I think they're one of the best in the country, led by Thomas Evans, of course, the strongest man, like you said, in Richmond football.
Talk about, did you ever think Jacoby Green, 22 total touchdowns, 1 away from the all-time record held by Tim Hightower. Already owns 21 rushing touchdowns, which is a program record. The type of season that he had, a lot is attributed to that offensive line.
Indeed. On the other side of the football, Richmond's defense really couldn't be playing any better than they are right now. Can the Spiders slow down North Dakota State on Friday just like they did to Illinois State?
I think slow down's a good word because you look at guys like Omar Howard, Trevor Jones, Darrell Jordan. They played lights out last week. Jones had a career-high 9 tackles. Like we said, Illinois State is a rushing team, one of the best rushing teams in the nation. Limited the Redbirds to 78 net yards on 26 attempts. Omar Howard comes up with a huge red zone interception. His first of the season, but the team's 21st. If they can pick off North Dakota State a couple times, that's obviously going to be a huge factor. The Richmond D, in that game versus Illinois State, not a lot of sacks, not a lot of tackles for loss, but it's 1 and 2 yard gain. It's just against this North Dakota State offense, like Richmond's offense, is a power team. Led right now, we believe, redshirt freshman QB Easton Stick is going to be the quarterback. All-American Carson Wentz has a wrist injury, so we don't expect him to play. But North Dakota State right now, they have a committee of running backs. King Frazier is a guy who's a close to 1,000-yard rusher. He averages 75 yards per game. Easton Stick, the quarterback, 53 yards per game. And Bruce Anderson, 33 yards per game. This is a team that has a committee of running backs that likes to control the clock and likes to control the line of scrimmage. 46% for the Bison on third down. Also, you look at Stick, his favorite targets are probably going to be R.J. Urzendowski and Zach Vraw, two of the best receivers for North Dakota State. Only Stick's 8th career start, so if you're Richmond defensively, obviously you're going to go into the same mindset. We have to stop the run first. We have to control the line of scrimmage. For me, Danny Rocco and his staff are probably looking at this and saying, listen, it's Easton Stick. He's a redshirt freshman quarterback. Played lights out, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the season, but he only averages 112 passing per game. I think the Spiders have to find a way to make Stick beat you with his arm. You cannot let North Dakota State dictate the flow of the game through the line of scrimmage. North Dakota State is such a good team rushing the ball, 237.5 yards per game. It's just going to be a huge task for this Richmond defense, but like you said, if there's any defense right now at the FCS level of the 4 teams remaining, it's Richmond's that's probably the most unknown and the most team that has the most to offer right now, because not a lot of people have a lot of faith in them, but they've answered the bell, especially in the last 3 weeks.
Playing it's dangerous to play a team with a chip on their shoulder like that, the Richmond defense right now. Remember, folks, CAFootball.com has links to follow Friday night's semifinal showdown between the Spiders and the Bison. If you can't tune into ESPN2 for the game, you can also catch it on the Watch ESPN app.
And with the season on the line, we're going to be well represented in Fargo on Friday night. Eric and the commish will actually be there in person in the Fargo Dome, providing live social media updates through our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook accounts. Just search CAA Football and use our official hashtag CAAFB.
And Tim, we can't forget about our stats All-Americans that were just named this week. Yes, absolutely.
12 total members of CAA Football named to the stats All-American team, including 3 on the first team, Victor Ochi, DeAndre Houston Carson, and Nick Dorka. Well-deserved honor for those guys, and just a nice way to end the season.
Indeed. Tim, the Spiders already have 1 victory under the Friday night lights. Let's make it 2 straight this week in Fargo and another trip to Frisco for CAA Football.
That sounds just fine with me. Again, let's remember, North Dakota State, this is its 45th home game on Friday night. An absolutely remarkable streak. The 4-time defending national champs are 14-0 over the last 5 seasons at home in the playoffs. Danny Rocco said it best this week, and I'm going to steal a line from him. This isn't a 7-game series. This isn't a best-of-3-game series. You just have to beat them once. Another ideal opportunity to show the FCS what CAA football is all about. Primetime audience on Friday night. Buckle up. If you're not watching this game, you got some problems.
Yes, you do. Enjoy the game Friday night. And we'll see you next week for a holiday-themed edition of This Week in CAA Football.